Welcome into round 2 of the SCBL playoffs. I'm Jonah Weintraub with the Queen City Corndogs broadcast, bringing you tonight's game between your Queen City Corndogs and the visiting 6th seed Regulators Baseball Club. A beautiful night for some baseball, and we're starting things off here live from the top of the first with Jacob Webb starting on the bump and throwing ball 1 to number 5, Nick Britt. Both these teams lost their last games, though the Regulators coming in a bit more hot, having upset the number 3 seed Lake Norman Copperheads in round number 1. Now both of these teams in a do-or-die situation here at the Friar. Should be a great one as we have a 1-1 count to start off on Britt. Jacob Webb, as mentioned, getting the start tonight, and a foul ball will bring up a 1-2 count. So while we have a second, we can look at the playoff picture. We have to take into account that the bracket was changed just a couple of hours after yesterday's games. So this is the losers bracket you're looking at. Statesville lost their game yesterday in a close loss to the Concord A's. Not so close, actually, as you can also see the Copperheads, who lost their first game, will be playing the Owls in an elimination game today, and the winners of those two games will face off tomorrow at the lowest seed's home field. Both these teams hoping they could be one of those to advance, as every game from here on out is win or go home. Full count on the first at-bat on Britt, and he's going to line one right past Dave Mosry at shortstop and get a leadoff single to start things here at the Friar. Nick Britt bats .310 on the year and has a team-high 18 hits, which is on full display right there. So let's tuck away our playoff graphic now and return to the action here from the top of the first. 1 on, no outs after that leadoff single from Britt. And that sends up number 6, John Bagwell. First pitch of this at-bat to the lefty goes inside for ball number 1. And let's meet the rest of the Corndogs. Starting in left field, we have Cannon Pierce, then Caleb Singleton in center field. Then in right field, we have Dylan Lewis. And along the infield, we have Nathan Sammy at third base, Dave Mosry at short, Miller St. John at second, Will Budnick at first, and behind the dish is number 37, Harrison Booth-Olette. A lot of guys that have been staples of the Corndogs lineup. Not too many major changes tonight. Has a 2-0 count now on Bagwell, only making his 9th appearance of the season. 7 of 29 at the plate, and lays down a bunt here, catches the Corndogs off guard. Mosry has to... the bare hand actually from Nathan Sammy, and the play is made. That hot corner's been an issue as of late for the Corndogs. Even their more sure-handed players in that area have had some difficulty at third base. But Nick Britt is able to advance, and 1 out is down here for Jacob Webb. This fresh pitch is going to be outside for strike number 1. 3-hole hitter, number 31, Johnny Sutrick from the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, making his 11th appearance of the season tonight. And taking the 1-0 pitch right down the middle for strike number 1, evening things here. And they're going to actually, they have the runner out. I said the runner was out at first. It looks like Budnick's foot must have been off the bag, or the play wasn't made in time. Regardless, we have 2 on with no down, so my apologies for the miscue there. Corndogs starting things off a little bit slowly, as this pitch is 1-1 now, going in high for 2-1 on Sutrick. Jacob Webb coming off a very difficult start in his last outing and hoping not to have that trend continue today, but so far the bases are loaded with no outs, and the Regulators' bats are hot to start things off here. 3 hits in a row bring up number 23, Josh Lale. The Regulators won their first game of this SCBL playoffs in the 6-3 matchup versus the Lake Norman Copperheads, then advanced to round number 2 where they took on the Mooresville Spinners, lost that one after being a little bit in control, a back and forth affair that they ultimately come out on the short side of. And that brings them back here to the Friar for their 4th game of the season at this venue. And an 0-1 count on the lefty Lael. Corndogs being tested here early, but a swing and a miss out of Lael will give Jacob Webb an 0-2 advantage. Jacob Webb, the sophomore from Southern Wesleyan, getting the start after the Corndogs have been noticeably thin on the bump. Some of their best guys have fallen out of the order, and right there it's going to be an RBI single that brings in Nick Britt, and the Regulators strike first. So now Eric Sledge, the 5-hole hitter, coming up to the plate for his first at-bat of the night with the bases loaded once again, and still no outs recorded for the Corndogs. That one is going to hit the pitcher, it looks like. Hit the batter, excuse me. So with that, Sledge will take his base, and the Regulators will extend their lead to 2-0. A really nightmarish start here for Webb and the Corndogs. And now number 20, Caleb Freeman, one of the more prolific hitters on this Regulator squad, gets his first at-bat of the night with no outs and the bases loaded still. So that first pitch is going to be outside for ball number 1. Caleb Freeman participated in this weekend's SCBL Home Run Derby, put up the highest round out of any participant, but ultimately wouldn't go on to win, would fall out in the second round, but put 12 home runs on the board in his first round. Testament to the power that he holds. Really, you can see it in the frame as well. 6'4", 230-pounder from Greer, South Carolina. An absolute presence at the plate. And takes a 1-1 pitch and lines it into left field. Will that go over the head of Pierce? Yes, it does. 1 run is going to come in. Josh Lael tries to join in on the fun, and Sledge is able to get over to third. So a double here and 5 straight hits for the Regulators to start things off here. And promptly a visit to the mound from manager Jeff Pluta. So we'll be back after Pluta and his starter have a quick conversation here. 4-0 early, Regulators, top of the first. The Corndogs find themselves in a 5-run hole after just half of the inning. Bottom of the first here, live from the Friar. Potential last game of both of these teams' seasons. And number 19 for the Regulators, that's Blake Holler on the bump. We were mentioning that the Corndogs are thin at the pitching position due to guys having passed their set thresholds, but when we talk about a thin pitching staff, this Regulators squad is absolutely paper thin on the bump. We're told that they're going to be primarily running solely position players tonight. So an uphill battle before any swings have been even swung, but Masri fouls that one back towards us on the bleachers to bring up a 1-2 count. Dave Masri leading things off for the Corndogs tonight. It's been about a week that we've seen Masri get promoted to the leadoff man. He's been relatively successful in that role as well, as he gets a ground ball over to second base. Sutrick will handle it and toss it over to Nathan Williams at first for the first out of this inning.
Now up to bat, number 10, Cannon Pierce.
So now number 10, Cannon Pierce, looks to follow that up. One down on that leadoff ground out from Dave Masri. Cannon Pierce, one of the few bright spots for the Corndogs last night, had a solo shot home run on his mom's birthday and starts things off here much less dramatically with a pop fly over to third base. Josh Lael gloves that and gives the Regulators 2 quick outs, setting the tee for number 42, Dylan Lewis, batting in the 3-hole with no on and 2 down. And the Corndogs' bats, for simplicity's sake, have been subpar to say the least. In their game against Concord, only had 6 hits, and that was a Monday night loss in round 1 of the playoffs. But that continued a trend in which the Corndogs had 4 out of their 5 games with only 1 player recording multiple hits. So it just goes to show that it's not one player in the slump. It's been a bit of a team effort. The one exception, though, to that game, or those 4 out of 5 games, was a 10-0 run rule inning win over the Lake Norman Copperheads right before the playoffs started. And a 1-2 count now on Dylan Lewis. Chance for Holler to end this inning, but keeps that one high for ball number 2. The Corndogs also scored 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th in their loss. It was a 4-13 loss. So those 3 runs at the bottom of the 9th made the score look a lot different than it would have. And it did mark the 4th out of 5th game that the Corndogs have scored below 4 runs. And now a full count here for Holler. And that's going to be outside, a walk on Dylan Lewis as the Corndogs put their first runner on the bases for the game.
Now batting number 37, Harrison Boutelet.
So now Harrison Boutelet steps up to the plate with 2 down and 1 on. Boutelet has been an absolute hero for the Corndogs at times this year. Walk-off home run in 1 game, but starts things off with a pop fly that is easily gloved behind the foul territory by Eli Duncan, and the Corndogs have a quick bottom of the 1st, which brings back out Jacob Webb and the defense, trying to put a better performance on the board than they did in that 5-run first inning. Top of the second inning. Don't know why it says 6. That's an odd number. There we are. Top of the second inning. Regulators head back up to the plate. Up 5-0. Jacob Webb trying to have a more successful frame than he did in the first, and gets things started off nicely against Nick Britt, the second go-around here for the Regulators order. Britt, the leadoff man from Chesapeake, Virginia, starts with a swinging miss, and the 0-1 pitch is going to be strike number 2, painting that bottom right corner and putting Britt in the 0-2 hole. Jacob Webb trying to settle into this game, number 29 for the Corndogs, making just his second start of the season. Throws that one in the dirt, so we have a 1-2 count now for Webb, who entered tonight with 12 strikeouts and 7 walks. In that game we mentioned earlier against Concord last week, had 3 strikeouts and 4 walks. And now evens the count at 2 with another low pitch. Britt started off the game and set the tone with that single. And then there were a handful of singles after that, and then after that a double, and the story goes that 5 runs were put on the board. And that's going to be a low outside ball, so after going down 0-2, Nick Britt, without the swing of a bat, has climbed all the way back into this count. Britt has a team-high 14 walks on the season, but not going to try for one right there as he pops this one into right center field, and it is chased down by Caleb Singleton. So a much different start to this inning, as 1 out on the board after 1 at-bat. And the 2-hole hitter, number 6, Dylan Ducharme, another guy from Winthrop University, gets his second at-bat of the night. One of a few lefties in this lineup for the Regulators, facing Webb and starting with an immediate line drive right into the glove of Will Budnick over there at first. 2 down quickly here, and number 31, Johnny Cetrick, is going to have to pull his weight if he wants to give his Regulators a chance at repeating what they did in the first. Webb winds this one up and in, but it's going to go high for ball number 1. Cetrick from the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, one of a handful of guys on this team that attends UNCC. Playing his summer ball here in the QC, and pops that one up into left field, gloved by Cannon Pierce, in a 1-2-3 inning for Jacob Webb. A nice turnaround from him, and that brings us to the bottom of the second. Still 5-0 Reg. Bottom of the second, Corndogs able to keep the lead at 5 for the Regulators, and obviously plenty of time to go in this one, as Will Budnick starting things off here. And the lefty-on-lefty matchup begins with a foul ball into the left forest here at Charlotte Ladin. So that will bring the count 0-1 on Budnick. And we mentioned that the position player is going to be getting a bulk of the pitches tonight for this Regulators squad, and Holler starting things off for them. While Holler himself, before this game, has made 2 appearances and a total of 1 1/3 of an inning. So if that isn't an indicator of where the Regulators are at with their pitching staff, then I don't know what is. They rolled out all their big guns yesterday for a matchup against the Mooresville Spinners. That was a close affair that Mooresville ended up taking late at home. And now left with a less expansive set of options. But nevertheless, they're still on top 5-0, looking to advance in this loser's bracket and keep their season alive. As Will Budnick flares this one up into the infield, and it's going to be caught by Nick Britt over at first base, shortstop, excuse me. And that's 5 down for the Corndogs. 1 down here in this inning. Yet to record a hit is Queen City, and Nathan Sammy trying to change that. Sammy getting situated, coming off an 0-2 performance versus the Concord A's on Monday. And starting things here with a strike in from Holler. Holler, a 5'11", 170-pounder from right here in the Queen City. Attends Caldwell Community College and has a 1-1 count now on Nathan Sammy. Holler has made 6 appearances as a batter this season, going 4 of 20 at the plate with 4 RBIs. And now the lefty being tasked with a playoff start in a do-or-die game. So far, his offense has given him a great cushion, and he's handled his business. Has 1 down here in the bottom of the second. Nathan Sammy, 2-1 in the count. As the pitch is dealt in and high for ball number 3. Nathan Sammy had a base-on-ball dream game, I guess, against the Regulators the last time these two teams played. As he gets a walk right there, the second of the night for Holler. And we were mentioning that earlier with Sammy just a second ago, that the last time these teams played, he drew 3 walks. Had 1 steal as well. And Sammy is someone to watch out for on the base path. Has 8 thefts on the year. Sitting over there is the Corndogs' second base runner of the night for number 12, Wilson Lohr, who had a difficult showing against the Concord A's the other night, but doesn't even get a chance to swing as that one nails him right on the shoulder and puts 2 on with 1 out for Luke Harris. Luke Harris didn't start last night, but being plugged in for this evening's game with 2 base runners on and 1 out. Wilson Lohr, who is second on the Corndogs in steals. Nathan Sammy is 6th. Both guys to look out for on the base path, as that's going to be strike number 1 on Harris. And Harris gets under this one, but just a bit too much as it pops right up back to Holler. And he'll handle that one easily for the second out of this inning, bringing up the second to last batter in the order, number 23, Miller St. John.
Now batting number 23, Miller St. John.
St. John went 0-2 on Monday with a strikeout, but was the best player for the Corndogs, arguably, in that game against this regulator squad here just about a week ago, as both runners are going to go. Sammy slides into third, and the ball passes Josh Lale over there in the hot corner. Moore is going to try to go for third. He'll get there too, and Sammy will get the first run of the night for the Corndogs, bringing them within 4, not even having to do it with a hit. Miller St. John took strike 1 looking. Ends up being about as beneficial of a strike as you can have. Both runners take 2 bases, and the count evens up at 1 with Wilson Lohr at third. Corndogs have plenty of time to creep back in this game. That run not going to be attributed to Blake Holler on the bump. And a fly ball is going to stay in the infield once again. Nathan Williams gets under it, and that will bring us to the 3rd inning. The Corndogs get 1 run on the board. Don't get a hit still, but the score is 5-1 heading into the 3rd. Welcome back for the top of the 3rd. Queen City cuts the lead just a bit. Still haven't recorded a hit, have the Corndogs. Still going to need their defense to keep this 4-run deficit at 4. As Jacob Webb takes a 1-0 pitch, and it's going to be hit. Popped up opposite side by Josh Lale. Called for by the shortstop. And that's handled by Dave Mosry for the first out of the 3rd. That, hopefully you guys didn't hear that, because that was a terrible sound here from the feedback on the mic. But a great play made by Mosry in the infield for the first out of this inning, as Eric Sledge returns to the plate and starts things off with a foul ball chopped towards the Corndog side. 0-1 pitch on the way from Jacob Webb. Webb went 3 up, 3 down in the bottom of the 2nd after allowing that 5-run score in the top of the 1st. Now 1-1 on Sledge. Number 21 for the Regulators is a 6-footer from Bristow, Virginia, making his 21st appearance of the season. Played about as much as any Regulator this entire summer campaign. And fouls that one back to make the count 1-2 with 1 out. Sledge went 0-4 last night against Mooresville. Did have a sacrifice fly in that contest. That was his 6th RBI of the season. But no runs to be batted in right here, as the 1-2 count with bases empty is going to be chopped over and go foul before Sammy can handle it. Probably for the better. Looked like Sledge had the jump on that one. So we'll reset with a 1-2 count. Sledge will take the trot back to that left batter's box. Jacob Webb given another chance to record his possible 3rd punch-out of the night. Had 2 in the top of the bottom of the 1st, top of the 1st I should say, to close out that inning in style after allowing the 5 runs and carried that momentum from the top of the first into the second. Hoping to streak together that momentum here in the third as the 2-2 pitch is in and whiffed on by Sledge. Strikeout number 3 on the night from Jacob Webb, looking more and more comfortable with each at-bat. So now here comes Caleb Freeman. Freeman, who attends North Greenville University, originally played his college ball at UNC Greensboro, so not staying too far away, as the righty from South Carolina. Recorded his 13th hit of the season in the first inning, was part of that massive streak to start off the game. Had a double in that one. And starts off this at-bat with a low ball from Jacob Webb. Caleb Freeman went 0 of 3 with 2 strikeouts the last time these two teams played. So already having a better performance in his second go-around here at the Friar in the past week. Now out ahead in the count 2-0. Jacob Webb has 2 outs down, trying to finish the job here, and deals in the 2-0 pitch outside. So a very favorable count for Caleb Freeman, who had a very productive night last night. Went 2 of 3 at the plate versus Mooresville, and is going to abstain from swinging on that one, trying to draw the walk, but instead Webb paints the corner for strike number 1. Hoping to get back in this at-bat is Webb, but unable to do so as he is going to walk Freeman over to first and give the Regulators their first base runner since the first. So following up, Freeman is number 9, Eli Duncan. Duncan, a freshman, all the way from Palo Alto, California, though he attends UNC Charlotte, so not too far away from campus, though very far away from where he originally calls home. And starting off with a high pitch for ball number 1, Freeman over there on first. Freeman has 5 stolen bases on the year, despite being a huge guy. We mentioned it earlier, one of these 6'2", 200-pound plus batters that the Regulators have in their lineup. As that pitch is going to be a nice outside strike to even up the count at 1. The Corndogs had a pretty successful night on the bump against this Regulators squad the last time these two teams faced. They only walked 2 hitters in that 4-2 win and struck out 9 in the process, as that one is going to be pulled foul for strike number 2, and now a chance for Jacob Webb to toss a second consecutive scoreless inning. Only 2 pitchers saw action in that game, and 2 pitchers that had not seen a ton of action to begin with. Aiden Meany made his second start of the season against the Regulators, and then Carson Sander made his first appearance of the season, and through 3 5-strikeout scoreless innings with no hits allowed, ultimately sealing the game for the Corndogs. And now they roll out Jacob Webb, who had a difficult commencement to this one, but is starting to find a bit of a zone here. And now a 2-2 pitch with the chance to get us to the bottom of the third. Not going to happen, and the throw is errant over there to second. Freeman rumbling over to third. The throw is not in time. Nathan Sammy had to scoop that one up in a good play to make sure that Freeman didn't have a possible chance at getting home. So 2 bases on the steal and miscommunication behind the plate, bringing up a full count now on Eli Duncan. Corndogs not going to worry about that last base running sequence if they get the out right here. And the full count pitch is in, and any result will be delayed for the time being as Duncan hits that one Foul towards the Corndog side, and we'll reset the same exact situation. Webb has 3 strikeouts tonight, looking for number 4, and is not going to get it as it is popped back into the stands. Eli Duncan keeping himself alive in this at-bat. Went 1 of 3 here just a week ago with a single. Got walked once and struck out once in that game as well. Only batting, as we mentioned earlier, 118 on the season. As the California native steps up to the plate once again with a full count. 2 down. Hoping to keep the inning alive for his Regulators. And will do so as he draws the walk right there. That is his 6th walk of the season. And Webb puts runners on the corners for Nathan Williams. Quick time right there from the catcher, Harrison Bouthillette. As we get ready for this at-bat, Williams making his 2nd plate appearance of the night. The sophomore from Dallas, North Carolina, attends nearby Gaston College. Familiar with some of the Corndogs as well, and lines this one right down the middle. The RBI single is going to bring in Freeman and give the 5-run lead right back to the Regulators, as now there are 2 on with 2 outs. Tough break for the Corndogs. With number 10, Jorge Santana, following up Williams. Really, really difficult break for Queen City. Had multiple chances to end the inning here and instead allow another run after putting up 1 tally themselves to try to chip away at this lead. But Santana grounds that over, and the force play at second is there. St. John gloves it from Sammy, but not without 1 more run tacked on by the Regs, sending us to the bottom of the 3rd with the away team on top 6-1 here in the SCBL playoff. Bottom of the 3rd inning here between your Queen City Corndogs and the visiting Regulators Baseball Club. Good guys down 6-1. Allowed 1 more run in the last half inning after scoring a tally of their own. So the same situation here as was the bottom of the second and the first, a 5-run deficit. And the first man to try to chip into that is Caleb Singleton. Takes a low pitch for a 1-0 count. Hits this one right center, but it's going to have too much loft on it, and Jorge Santana will easily be able to get there for the first out of the third. Now, top of the order returns for Queen City with number 26, Dave Mossery. Mossery grounded out his first time up at the plate. Finished 0 of 2 last night with 2 strikeouts, or should I say on Monday, and fouls this one back. Mossery still with that performance has the 5th best average out of any Corndog, as well as the 6th most hits from any Queen City player. Batting .313 on the year with 26 knocks. Has a 0-1 count though against Holler. And the lefty deals in that pitch high to even things at 1. Mossery went 1 of 4 the last time he faced the Regulators here. And gets a hit right into the left gap. DeCharm gets it out in the outfield, and the first hit of the night starts things off with a single from Dave Mossery. So Cannon Pierce, we mentioned, hit a home run, his 3rd of the season last night. Getting his second at-bat after flying out in the first. And Pierce, now in a rare company with multiple home runs and double-digit stolen bases. Only Tyler Cotto, who's no longer with the team, can say that, but Pierce flies out once again. Jorge Santana's had a busy inning. And with 2 down, Mossery's hit may not matter with Dylan Lewis, who got walked last time. Returning to the plate for his second at-bat of the night. The pickoff attempt to Nathan Williams over there at first is not in time. So Mossery stays taking a pretty big lead once again. And the pitch is going to be outside for ball number 1. Dylan Lewis batting .299 on the year, basically 300. Has 29 hits for the Corndogs, and that one is boomed into the left field. That is a no-doubter. 2-run home run. Dylan Lewis chipping into the lead and making things 3-6 here. His 4th home run of the year as he rounds the bases. The Corndogs fans finally have something to cheer about. The home run derby participant made it to the finals, finished 3rd in the derby, showing why he was selected to that with that hit into left field, a line drive of a home run. Gets the job done and gives the Corndogs their smallest deficit of the evening. Harrison Bouthillette, the other Queen City player selected to the derby, trying to follow it up with some fireworks of his own, but gets behind 0-1 in the count on that looking strike. Bouthillette is also going to look that one off for ball number 1. And we said that was his 4th home run, Dylan Lewis. It's technically his 3rd. Hit one in a game against Mooresville that didn't count, and oh my goodness gracious, make it 2 of them. Home run, Harrison Bouthillette ties the team lead with 6 on the year, and the Corndogs finally remember how to make contact with the ball in a big way. Number 37 takes his victory lap, and the Corndogs have brought this deficit within 2. Back-to-back jacks, and the Corndogs are on fire here in the bottom of the 3rd. Lewis and Bouthillette, both 2 of the leading home run hitters on this Corndog squad, both of whom we mentioned made the derby. Putting that on full display, and almost another one out of Budnick. Will Budnick has 2 home runs on the season. Has had 1 robbed as well. Had 1 pulled just foul. Could very well have 4 or 5 of them on the season. Another one right there almost, but this one is going to be flared into the right field and handled by Johnny Sutrick in second. So the Corndogs make this a 4-6 game after back-to-back home runs from Harrison Bouthillette and Dylan Lewis. We've got a game, ladies and gentlemen, as we head into the 4th inning. We have a game, everyone. Top of the 4th inning here, and the Corndogs put up a 3-spot in the bottom of the 3rd with back-to-back home runs from Dylan Lewis and Harrison Bouthillette to draw this thing within 2. Regulators feeling some pressure now. How do they respond with the leadoff man, Nick Britt, getting his 3rd at-bat of the night, and a new pitcher in the game for the Corndogs, number 7, Grayson Munyon, replacing Jacob Webb, who finishes with those 5 earned runs in the 1st inning, but bounced back nicely and had 3 strikeouts on the game. And that one's going to be hit over to Nathan Sammy at 3rd, beams it, and handled by Will Budnick at 1st. At 3rd base position, we mentioned it earlier, has been difficult for the Corndogs as of late. Nathan Sammy, though, proving no challenge to him on that routine ground ball, and one down here for Grayson Munyon, who has seen limited work this season, has made 6.1 innings of appearances worth this year, and starts things off in this at-bat against Dylan Ducharme with an outside ball, number 1. Munyon, a senior from Birmingham Southern, posting a 4.26 ERA over those 6 1/3 of an inning. And this is going to be grounded right to Miller St. John, a simple play, and Corndogs get back-to-back ground outs, putting tons of pressure now on the Regulators. The offense finally picking up the slack there in the bottom of the 3rd. And now with 2 down and no out, Johnny Sutrick, an out here for the Corndogs, would surely continue this massive wave of momentum. Sutrick, one of those UNC Charlotte 49ers for the Regulators, sees the first pitch from Munyon go high and inside for ball number 1. Munyon last made an appearance against Concord here about a week or so ago. Closed out the Athletics with a 2-strikeout performance in 1 inning. Only allowed 1 hit, no earned runs and sealed the deal for the Corndogs in that game as he gets a strike on pitch number 2 to even the count at 1. Munyon works this one in, and that hit the batter. It was off the knob of the bat, the umpire says. Thought that sounded a bit odd. And unfortunately for Citric, that will make the count 1-2 and a chance for Grayson Munyon to get a 1-2-3 inning here in the top of the 4th. Deals this one in and does exactly that. Grayson Munyon takes over and performs, bringing us to the bottom of the 4th with Queen City carrying all the momentum right now. Nathan Sammy leading things off here in the bottom of the 4th. Queen City has come back this one after being down 5-0, 4-6 now. And a first pitch ball from Blake Holler. Regulators still rolling with their starter tonight even after giving up those 2 home runs in the last frame. We're wondering to see if they were going to do it more by committee or roll out a true starter to go deep into this game. As of now, it looks like the latter. And Holler looks good on that pitch with a 1-1 count on the way after that strike. We mentioned that Holler entered this game with 1 1/3 inning of work the entire season. So far has nearly quadrupled that mark in this game alone. Still, his team has the lead, but a bit more pressure on him now to protect it, as that's going to be another strike on Sammy to make the count 2-2. Sammy has drawn a walk tonight, his 4th in 2 games against this Regulators squad. And now with a 2-2 mark, he is going to take a pitch in a similar location, and a good decision at that, as the full count is on the way. The Corndogs have gotten walked less and less as the season has gone on, only 4.5 walks per game the Corndogs draw. And Sammy will foul that one back to keep this full count alive. Queen City only drew 4 walks against Concord in their last contest. Now, after having drawn 2 tonight, Sammy on the verge of a potential other. And that's exactly what he does. Nathan Sammy now with 2 walks on the night, continuing to be a problem at the plate, for the Regulators. And Wilson Lohr, who has a mini fan club here tonight. Getting the boost from the crowd for his second at bat. Didn't even get a swing. Was hit with the first pitch that he saw tonight. And Lore, who leads the Corndogs in average as well as the SCBL in average. Definitely a weapon that Corndogs can tap into here in the bottom of the fourth. Lore has the third best on-base percentage out of any Corndog as well. And with Sammy over at first, is going to hit this one over the head of the second baseman and get his first hit of the night. Sammy is going to round over, and Wilson Lore wants two, but it looks like he is going to be tagged out. And we'll have to return to the dugout. Tried for the gamble, but ends up falling short. Still, though, advances Nathan Sammy to third and puts a runner right on the verge of scoring for number 13, Luke Harris. So as Harris, who thought he may have been the potential leading run at the plate, now just turns into the tying run once again for the Corndogs. Gets his second at bat after flying out, and we'll watch that one drop outside for ball number one. Queen City has taken a punch early in this one and has bounced back nicely. Obviously, with the stakes of this game right here. Strike number one on Harris. The stakes being a winner-go-home duel between these conference foes. You got to get everything out of everyone. No margin for error, really. But the Corndogs had plenty of errors on defense, and not literal errors, but allowed plenty of runs in that first inning. And now we're here with a chance to have a second chance. So the 2-1 pitch is into Harris and lined past the third baseman. Leo was playing in, and that's an RBI single for Luke Harris to bring in Nathan Sammy. And we have a one-run game here at the Friar.
Now batting number 23, Miller St. John.
The Corndogs have turned the bats around here in a moment's notice, and Miller St. John gets his second at-bat of the night with only one out, and Luke Harris on first, as that one is going to be hit into the outfield past the glove of Sutrick. Luke Harris slides into second, and now 2 on with 1 down. Queen City has really taken control of this one despite still being down, and a visit is in store. Blake Holler. Wonder if that might be it for him, and we'll know after this quick intermission. Caleb Singleton, who flew out his first at-bat, returning to tail off the bottom of the order for the Corndogs in their second go-around. Has 2 runners on and only 1 out. But now an 0-1 count after that one. Drops into the zone for strike number 1 from Holler, who remains in the game. And this contest looking eerily reminiscent of the one last night for the Regulators. Allowed 6 of their 8 runs to the Mooresville Spinners in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th innings. Or 4th, 5th, and 6th, excuse me. So that middle of the game really plaguing RBC. But get an easy out right there as Singleton flies straight up to Lale in the infield, and now 2 down for the Regulators. Trying to protect their lead that has dwindled all the way down to 1.
Now at the back, number 26, Dave Mossry.
Dave Mossry, who got the first hit of the night for the Corndogs in his second at-bat. Queen City didn't get a single hit through their entire first go-around of the order, but now that we're back for the third, the second time around, Queen City got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hits, 2 of them being for home runs. And it's going to be a ball from Holler. So, QC saw Holler, had their growing pains, and have quickly adjusted. But with 2 outs, the Regulators can still preserve their lead even though it has minimized all the way to just a single run. And that one is going to be hit into the right center gap and caught by Jorge Santana as he walks back. So a solid job to stop the bleeding there from Hollard and the Regulators. But Queen City scores once more, and we have a 1-run game heading into the 5th. Top of the 5th, and the Regulators can feel the Corndogs breathing down the back of their neck after getting out to a 5-0 lead. The away team has suddenly found themselves only up 1 here in the top of the 5th with Grayson Munyon, who went 1-2-3 in the top of the 4th, returning to the bump for his 2nd inning of action. Caleb Freeman at the dish and getting out ahead 2-0 in the count. Excuse me, that's Josh Lale. And Lale, who had a solid game against the Corndogs about a week ago, went 1 of 3 here at the Friar with a double in that one. Making his 16th appearance of the season is Lale, and now 2-1 in the count against him. Lale batting .340 over that 16-game stretch with now 17 knocks on the season. Been one of the more productive contact hitters on this squad as he hits one right there, backhanded by Masri, and the throw is there. What a play by Dave Masri at short. And the Corndogs get their first out of the inning in style. Grayson Munyon avoiding giving up his first hit with that superb play by Masri. And now Eric Sledge heads back up to the plate, the senior from Claflin University. Watches that pitch go low and outside for ball number 1. Claflin went 0 of 3 the last time these two teams faced off. Struck out and had a sacrifice fly. One of just 2 runs that the Regulators scored, and that pitch had some zip on it from Munyon as it speeds past the bat of Sledge and evens the count at 1. Corndogs had this section of fans here at the Friar pretty silent after about 3 innings, but the Corndogs have absolutely climbed back into this one, and there's a much more loose audience in attendance for tonight's game now. 1-2 on Eric Sledge, who has a team-high 24 strikeouts on the year. Munyon can't make it 25, though, as Sledge refrains from going on that one, and the outside pitch evens the count at 2. The 6-foot, 200-pounder getting his first look at Munyon of the night, and fouls that one right back for a reset of the 2-2 count. Keeping himself alive is Sledge. who has 15 hits on the season over 20 games. Working with 2-2 counts, 1 out, no on. And is going to foul one right into the same exact location over the right foul, well, the right netting, we should say. So now that's going to bring up a 2-2 count once again. Same scenario. Which one of these two is going to come out on top? Munyon locks, loads, fires, deals. And it's going to bring up a full count now after that one went low. Eric Sledge has drawn 8 walks on the season. The odds statistically say the strikeout more likely, but trying to flip those odds on its head as the 3-2 pitch is in and lined right down the middle. The ground ball gives Sledge the hit and the first hit of the night that the Regulators have got off of Munyon, with number 20, Caleb Freeman, returning to the plate. Freeman got on bases last time at the bag. Trying to repeat that once again. The Corndogs, with 1 down, have Sledge over at first, who only has 3 stolen bases over 20 games. Not a huge threat to steal. And that's an inside pitch for ball number 1. The Corndogs also have a team ERA on the season of 5.21, have allowed 6 here. And the defense, or especially the pitching, hasn't been a huge problem in this cold streak for the Corndogs. It's been a lot of lackluster batting, but now that the batting seems to have gotten itself adjusted here, at least for the time being, pitching with a new spotlight on them once again. So far, Munyon pulling his weight, but the 2-0 count turns into 2-1 on a looking strike on Freeman. Munyon has got done so far with only 1 strikeout over his near 2 innings, 1 1/3 so far, with Sledge over at first, still showing no signs of going. And that one is going to be flared up into the infield. St. John will make the play at first. Meanwhile, Sledge will make his way to second. So the fielder's choice gives the Corndogs their second out and the Regulators a runner in scoring position. For number 9, Eli Duncan. Duncan, the 5'8", 175-pounder, playing behind the dish tonight as Regulators catcher. Coming off a 1 of 2 performance with an RBI single. Also had 2 strikeouts, 2 stolen bases, in that game against the Mooresville Spinners. And starts off this count 1-0. Meanwhile, Munyon, 6'2", 190-pounder from Collierville, Tennessee, looking to bring us to the bottom of the 5th. He's 2/3 of the way there, looks back at Sledge, and tosses in the 1-0 pitch. It's a swing and a miss out of Duncan for strike number 1. Corndogs with 4 strikeouts as a team on the night, average just under 10 a game. Have a 1-1 count on Duncan. That's going to go to 2-1 on a low ball away. Queen City only walked 2 hitters in their win over the Regulators last week. So far, I've already eclipsed that total tonight, but not a hard total to eclipse. And that's going to be another strike looking on the bottom right corner. Grayson Munyon has really found his spots here in the past inning. And now with a 2-2 count, Munyon looking to bring us to the bottom of the 5th and toss his second straight scoreless frame. Though that pitch is going to sail on him a bit and bring up a full count. Last time we had the full count, it was on Eric Sledge, who's over at second base. He would end up hitting one into the dead middle of the field and get on base. Has made his way to second. And with a full count, Grayson Munyon locks, loads, fires, and it's going to go off the home plate. And with that, Sledge is going to get a extra base as well. He'll head to third, and the walk will put Duncan on first to send runners on the corners for the Regulators, and Nathan Williams, who got an RBI his last time up, hoping to add another one to his total for the game. But a quick timeout, as it looks like manager Jeff Pluta is going to have a quick chat with Munyon on the bump. So we'll be back after that quick conversation. Well, that was a brief conversation, just going over some things to help the Corndogs try to get their final out of the frame. And the first pitch is going to be high and inside on Nathan Williams, who has 13 RBIs on the season. Good for second most on this Regulators side. Already added to that total tonight. And once again, sees a high and inside pitch that the Corndogs dugout thought he went on, but second umpire over there says that he held. And Nathan Williams, with a 2-0 mark, steps back up into the box. Crowding the plate is Williams. Powerful hitter from Gaston College. Gets ahead 3-0 in the mark, and after Grayson Munyon cruised a bit to the first 2 outs of the frame, at serious risk of loading the bases here. And with a 3-0 pitch, Munyon is going to deal it in for strike number 1. Williams thought he had that walk that he was looking for. Instead, the only walk he's taking is back to the batter's box for another swing at this. Williams on the season has drawn 13 walks, struck out 20 times. Ahead in the count right now, trying to keep this inning alive for the Regulators. And the runner's going to go, but it's not going to matter, as that's a high ball number 4, bases loaded with Sledge, Duncan, and Williams. Setting the table for number 10, Jorge Santana. Santana, batting 129 through 12 games on the season. Only has 3 RBIs, but boy, does he have a chance to increase that number right here. Santana sees this pitch go low. Oh, they're going to say a strike number 1. So, getting the bottom of the zone is Munyon. Trying to escape this little jam here with the bases loaded. Corndogs have come all the way down from 5-0. To bring this game to a 6-5 Regulators lead, and a very delayed call on that one, but better late than never if you're a Queen City fan, as that's an 0-2 count now on Santana, who has to protect the plate now or else he'll strand 3 runners on. And did he go on that one? No, he didn't. Santana able to hold back on that outside pitch, almost chased on it. But fortunately for the Regulators, just a 1-2 count still. The ball is in Grayson Munyon's court, as the 1-2 pitch is on the way, and it's wound up and in, and a strikeout for Grayson Munyon, number 2 on the night for him, and the most important of the game, as the bases left loaded here heading into the bottom of the 5th. Bottom of the 5th inning, Corndogs keep the game within 1 run in the top half of the frame despite loading the bases. Grayson Munyon was able to keep them loaded with no runs allowed. And the first pitch of this frame from Holler goes in for strike number 1. Cannon Pierce, the batter, for the 3rd time tonight. 0 of 2, looking to make a splash here. And taking the 0-1 pitch, low and looking it off for an even 1-1 toss on the way. Pierce has flown out both times, and worth noting that Holler has yet to record a strikeout on the night. Corndogs have been putting it in play, as that one is put out of the zone for a 2-1 mark now. It's also something to keep your eye on just in general. The Regulators enter tonight's contest with a 4-23 record after that one lines off the bump for a base hit. Cannon Pierce's first of the night. Still, though, despite that 4-23 mark, the Regulators Baseball Club has played as well as they have all season during the playoffs. Pushed Mooresville to the brink last night after on Monday upsetting the Lake Norman Copperheads. So the record may be deceiving here as they finally have their roster in order. But here at the Friar, it looks like Blake Holler's night is complete. Gives up 5 runs. Doesn't get any strikeouts, but puts up a noble performance for a position player who only had an inning and change of work on the bump so far this season, to give his Regulators a shot at this one, and will return after the pitching change is made. So, with 1 runner on, Cannon Pierce, a new pitcher in the game for the Regulators, is not new to the game as a whole. Eric Sledge making the transition from the outfield over to the bump. And talk about a difficult first assignment, it's Dylan Lewis, and then following him up is Harrison Boothlet, the 2 guys that both went yard in their last at-bats with no outs. And a quick 2-0 count on Lewis from Sledge, who has more experience than most of the position players for this Regulators squad on the bump. Has tossed in 5 games this season, even made 1 start, though only 8.1 innings of work over those 5 games. As the 2-0 pitch is low for ball number 3, and Dylan Lewis out in front early in this at-bat. Sledge with an 11.88 ERA, having allowed 11 runs over just over 8 innings. And walking a batter there, which is only his 3rd walk of the year. So now 2 on for the Corndogs. Excuse me, that's actually his 14th. A big difference there.
37, Harrison Boothlet.
So 14 walks, make it 15 now for Sledge on the season. And with no outs, the Corndogs have the potential leading run over on first base, tying run on second, and Boothlet rips one into the right field foul area, bounces back into play, and if we were playing in Savannah Bananas type league, maybe that would count, but instead it's going to be 0-1 on Boothlet. Dylan Lewis, meanwhile, at first, is now 1 of 1 on the night with a home run and 2 walks, as Boothlet gets under another one but fouls it straight back and moves the count to 0-2. Sledge only has, with the 3 that we mentioned miscorrectly, or incorrectly I should say, was the strikeout total. So 3 strikeouts to 14 walks on the season. Not the most ideal ratio, especially for this situation, but trying to put one away here is Sledge. With an 0-2 count, deals it into Boothlet, and the count is going to stay alive as the Corndogs' best hitter makes contact and fouls it opposite side. Boothlet, top 3 on the Corndogs in average, walks, RBIs, hits, anything you can name, really. Boothlet has his name up there. The only batter for the Corndogs with 30-plus hits and 30-plus RBIs on the season. A remarkable campaign for Boothlet, who hopes to propel Queen City to a potential matchup tomorrow with the winner of the Statesville-Lake Norman game, which we don't have the score of because someone isn't posting it online, unfortunately. Would love to keep you updated, but for the time being, we'll just have to keep the focus here in South Charlotte for a winner-go-home game. 5-6 Regulators still on top, have been tested since they've taken that lead, and the Corndogs on the verge of making a big splash. And now, after back-to-back strikes and a couple of foul balls from Boothlet, the mark has moved all the way to 3-2 for Sledge, at risk of loading the bases with no outs and putting the Regulators in a real jam. But instead, Boothlet is going to ground that one into right field, a single that sees Cannon Pierce round third and backtrack back to the base. So a full count single for Boothlet, who moves to 2 of 3 on the night with that home run as well, giving Will Budnick a chance to be the potential man who brings in the game tying and or game leading run. Boothlet, Lewis, and Cannon Pierce on the base path for the Corndogs, with Will Budnick watching that pitch go in for strike number 1. Budnick has had a quiet night so far, 0 of 2, but anyone who's kept up with the Corndogs knows how capable he is, with the 4th most hits on the Corndogs and the 4th most RBIs as well on the team. 28 and 20 respectively over Queen City's 36-odd games, which obviously he hasn't played all of them. No player has played all 36 games. So a 1-1 count from Sledge. He's going to be fouled off opposite side. You can feel the Friar here just waiting to explode. Been down the entire game. Have clawed and bit their way back into this one. Has Queen City on the verge of taking their first lead of the night, or even their first tie. But right now, that's going to be a forced play at home with the bases loaded, and a potential double play gets knocked out by Budnick, and they're going to rule... Are they going to rule a runner interference on that? One is down for sure at home, and a wise play made by Sledge, as it looks like that's going to be another out, was ruling that Budnick was in the way of that throw from home to first. Would have been the rare 1-2-3 double play. But Budnick infuriated, comes back to the dugout, and the Corndogs now see themselves with 2 outs after having no outs and the bases loaded. Manager Jeff Pluta having a conversation with the home plate umpire. We've seen a call similar to this here about a week ago in a game where Wilson Lohr was running over towards second and tried to jump out of the way of the ball, but the ball hopped into Lohr and he was ruled out. So it looks like the umpire is going to stay firm in what he ruled. And after the Corndogs had the bases loaded with no outs, they find themselves still with 2 in scoring position, but 2 down. And now Nathan Sammy is going to be tasked with potentially righting the wrongs that occurred on that last play. Budnick didn't know if there's much else he could do, but we'll start off with an outside ball. The call is going to stand, and that's just how we're going to have to play it appears. Umpire handled business with plenty of grace. No fireworks from either sideline, just a quick conversation. And with Dylan Lewis on third, Harrison Bouthelette on second, and a 2-0 count on Sammy, who has already been walked 2 times tonight, as that's high and inside for ball number 3. For some reason, against the Regulators, Nathan Sammy just seems to be a magnet for pitches outside of the strike zone. Had 3 walks in his last game versus these guys, and on the verge of another, but prolonged due to that looking strike. 3-1 now on Sammy, who is batting .257 on the year with 17 knocks. And he'll foul that one back, so a full count. If Sledge is able to close the door on Sammy right here, that would be a massive win for this Regulators squad. Meanwhile, the home fans here waiting for the big moment in this one. Corndogs have done everything to put themselves into position. And Sammy is going to pop that one up into right field. Nathan Williams in the area. He'll call for it. And the Corndogs had the bases loaded with no outs, but unable to capitalize as we head into the 6th inning with the Regulators still on top 6-5. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for the top of the 6th inning. I'm Jonah Weintraub with the Queen City Corndogs, bringing you tonight's broadcast, and it has been a dandy of a game thus far. The 4 and 6 seed in the SCBL, duking it out in a winner-take-all game. As Nick Britt starting things off this inning for his 4th at-bat of the night. Top of the order for the Regulators. who were able to get out of a huge jam in the last inning, a controversial call made along the way that resulted in a double play with the bases loaded. Now, how will the Corndogs respond on this side of the ball? Grayson Munyon still being tasked with this potential comeback effort on this side of the comeback, at least the defensive side. And now with a 1-1 count on Britt, takes his time, settles in, dishes it in, and gets strike number 2 right over the diamond for a 1-2 pitch on the way. So Munyon, who has 2 strikeouts tonight, looking to make it a third, but that one will stay high on him, arm side, and go soaring near the head of Britt to even the count at 2. Britt, a 5'10", 175-pound sophomore, has been a staple in this lineup the entire year. Team leader in hits, stolen bases, and walks. Just what you want out of a leadout man, but slams his bat in frustration there after he strikes out on that. And Munyon picks up his 3rd punch-out of the game. Entered with 11 over 6 innings. And putting together a solid performance is Munyon, with 1 out here in the top of the 6th. Dylan Descharme now steps up to the plate, the lefty from Collegeville, Pennsylvania. Batting .326 over 12 games on the season. Is going to hold back on that low pitch that passes by Harrison Boothlet behind the dish. Doesn't matter, though, with no runners on. And now 1-0 on the way from Grayson Munyon. Really seems like it could be anyone's game at this point. The Corndogs had momentum for the majority of the middle innings after the Regulators really got out ahead and had that power in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. But after that last inning where the Corndogs were unable to score with the bases loaded, a chance for RBC to take a bit more control back in this game. Grayson Munyon, who has a 3-0 count now on Ducharme, trying to make sure that doesn't happen, as the righty deals it in and high for a walk, 4-pitch walk, sends Ducharme over to first. That's his 6th drawn of the season. And now number 31, Johnny Sutrick, returns to the plate, the 3-hole hitter. Getting a look at Grayson Munyon with 1 on and 1 down. Sutrick, the 6'1", 210-pounder, freshman from Virginia Beach, making his 11th appearance of the season tonight, and not biting on that inside ball number 1. Ducharme has 4 stolen bases on the year over there at first. Definitely a threat to run, as he has those 4 steals over just 12 games. Back at the plate with a 1-0 toss on the way. Johnny Sutrick, who is 10 of 33 on the season, heading into this game, is not going to swing on that strike, which evens up the count at 1. Grayson Munyon has really made a home in the strike zone tonight, not being rash at all about where he is locating those balls. And now with a 1-1 count, going to try to pick off Ducharme at first, but not in time. So the 1-1 count still standing for Johnny Sutrick, who is one of a few players on this Regulators team with a double and a triple on the year. Has 2 of those doubles as well as 1 triple. Coming off a 1 of 5 performance against Mooresville yesterday with a RBI double in that contest. Didn't play when these teams met over a week ago. And that one will be fouled back. Count now moves to an even 2-2. Sutrick trying to protect the plate now as Grayson Munyon hoping to keep this lead at 1, or keep the Regulators lead at 1, I should say. But a quick time taken by Munyon. Sutrick steps back into the batter's box. Sutrick only has 5 strikeouts over 10 games. And that's going to be number 6 as Grayson Munyon catches Sutrick looking and picks up his 4th punch-out of the game. Grayson Munyon is wheeling and dealing right now for the Dogs as he has 2 down with 1 on. And a chance to end the inning here with number 23, Josh Lale at the plate. Going to be a tough one to put down is Lale, the .340 batter, 2nd on the team in hits for the Regulators. Went 2 of 4 last night. And looks off that pitch high for ball number 1. Josh Lale, who is a 6'1", 195-pounder, sophomore at Milligan College, has to get something here if he wants to keep this inning intact for the Regulators. Have only scored 1 run since the first frame. Started out with their hair on fire and since then have come down to earth in a huge way. As that pitch is high and inside for ball number 2. Grayson Munyon, who has pitched nearly half of his season total here in this game alone, on the verge of his 3rd inning completed tonight, entered with just over 6 on the year. And takes the 2-0 pitch that's going to be fouled opposite side into the woods over one of the little dugout area. It's like where the dugout blends into the bullpen for the Corndogs here at Charlotte Ladin. So now 2-1 on Lale, who is making his 16th appearance of the season, the lefty from Charlotte. Fouls another one straight back against the foul netting. And now with a 2-2 count, a chance for Grayson Munyon to throw his 3rd scoreless inning of this contest. Was handed the keys to the car and has absolutely driven it to perfection thus far. Looking to continue that trend right here as the 2-2 toss is on the way, but it's actually not on the way. A pickoff attempt over there at first. Once again, Ducharme getting in the mental game with Munyon, who recalibrates, locks, loads, fires it high for ball number 3. Full count here for Josh Lale and the Regulators. Munyon walked Ducharme earlier in the inning, entered with 7 walks on the year. And the full count pitch on the way. Munyon likes what he sees, deals it in, and it's going to be outside for ball number 4. Josh Lale hangs in tough, and with that, a visit to the mound is in store for Grayson Munyon. Wonder if his pitch limit has been hit with that. And if it is, it would be a wildly successful night for Munyon, who is going to go to the Corndogs bench, the dugout. 2 2/3 innings for Grayson Munyon. No runs allowed and 4 strikeouts. Superb work in relief of Jacob Webb, and the senior from Birmingham Southern will be replaced by Connor Bailey after this quick break. So, new pitcher in the game with number 19, Blake Holler, tonight's starting pitcher for the Regulators, returning to action, but this time in his first at-bat of the night. We mentioned a thin lineup for this Regulators side, and that is exactly what it is, with pitchers and rotational players likely filling in for one another the rest of this contest, and a speeding strike one in from Connor Bailey, who, if you were with us on the broadcast this Monday, saw him make one inning of work in that loss versus the Concord A's, and quickly gets the final out of this inning on a little blooper into the glove of Will Budnick. We're heading into the bottom of the sixth, with the Regulators still on top 6-5. I'm sure if you told the Regulators side that they would be starting a position player with only one inning of work on the season as their pitcher tonight against the Corndogs in a do-or-die game, they would be more than happy to be up one heading into the bottom of the sixth. But the style in which this game has gone has proven to be very back and forth, and you have to think that the Regulators might be reeling a bit. We're able to get out of a massive jam the last inning that they were on defense and start things off with a pitch that is going to be singled by Wilson Lohr. Lohr picks up his second straight single. This one he stops on first. Tried to get over to second the last time he had a base hit and was caught there. So Lohr will make his way to first. He is 2 of 2 on the night with a pair of singles as well as getting hit by a pitch, which brings up Luke Harris, who has a single himself, and starts things off with a low ball seen from Eric Sledge. Tying run now on first in Wilson Lohr, who has 13 steals on the season, second most out of any Queen City player. And that one is boomed into the left field, but it is going to pull foul. Luke Harris got all of that one, but just not in the lines. So 1-1 now on Harris. The 6'3", 220-pounder from Edgemoor, South Carolina. Only batting .214 on the year, but still the fourth best on-base percentage out of any Corndog. Draws walks and gets hit by pitches. An odd amount. Has the second most hit by pitches on the year out of any Corndog. And also went 1 of 1 the last time that he was at the plate against Concord. And has a 1 of 2 performance tonight. 1-2 now, though, on Harris at the plate. Harris was pinched in on Monday, got a single when the game was far over. Now a much higher stakes situation, facing a 1-2 mark, and it's going to be ruled high for ball number 2. The Corndogs still have yet to strike out tonight, and finding themselves down 1 run still. Considering the first inning of defense, though, you have to be happy. Both sides with good and bad, as Lohr is going to gun it over to second, and the throw is past the arms of Sutrick at second. Wilson Lohr trying for 3, and he will have another base there as Wilson Lohr showcases the speed and picks up his 14th theft of the year. That's still good for second on the team. And now Lohr, the player of the week in the conference week 2, standing as the potential tying run right at third with a 3-2 count on Harris. That is grounded and will go foul right before it hits the bag. Full count pitch on the way once again from Sledge, as Harris keeps himself alive in the at-bat. Trying to drive home the tying run is the Limestone product. It was 0-2 the last time these teams met. And gets walked right there as Lohr on the passed ball is going to tie this game, sliding into home. And Queen City has come back from down 5-0 to even things at 6 here midway through the bottom of the 6th. Meanwhile, the walk sends Luke Harris over to first base. Harris is 4th on the team in walks and was able to add another one to his collection right there. And still with no outs and a runner on first, this game as tied for the first time since it was 0-0 in the top of the first, as Miller St. John almost got another big hit right down the left field line. That one was on the tightrope and fell off to the left right before it could stay fair. So 0-1 now on St. John, who singled his last time up. The Gaston College product making his way to Lenoir-Rhyne after 2 years with the Rhinos. Plenty of JUCO bandits throughout the SCBL, and a lot of them proving the talent that they have, that they can offer to Division I, Division II, and other schools throughout the NCAA. St. John now facing a 1-2 mark, and lines this one into left field. That is going to be a base hit and possibly more. Luke Harris getting over to third. Is he going to send it home? No. But Miller St. John picks up a standing double and puts 2 in scoring position for the Corndogs. And number 4, Caleb Singleton, has a chance to blow this game open after Eric Sledge gets a visit from the infield. And we'll be back to see the rest of the bottom of the 6th after this quick break. Caleb Singleton is 0-2 on the night, but is going to hold back on that bunt for ball number 1. What I was going to say is that Singleton has a chance to give the Corndogs their first lead of the game here in the bottom of the 6th. No outs, 2 in scoring position after a passed ball gave Wilson Lohr the run. And that one is going to be fouled straight down. So a 1-1 mark now on Singleton. fastest man on this Corndogs roster, and not sure there's many people that would contest that take. Has 15 stolen bases on the year, 100% success rate. And also high up in the hit category as well, with 19 of them on the season. Good for top 7 on the team, I believe, for this game. Went 0 of 1 on Monday with a walk, did Singleton, getting more extensive action today. And now facing a 1-2 count. That moves to 2-2 on the low ball from Eric Sledge. Sledge has an 11.88 ERA on the season. Not his natural position, a pitcher. Has stepped in and been tested by this Queen City side as Singleton grounds that over to first. The play made at first. Tossed back to Sutrick from the first baseman, Nathan Williams. And a good decision by those Corndogs on second and third to hold. No force was there. And with one down, the situation is still the same for Dave Mossery. Fourth go around in the order now for the Corndogs, with Mossery, who is 1 of 3 on the game, looking to be a hero, and that is what he does. Single brings in 1. St. John got around and stay. Meanwhile, Mossery makes his way to second, and the Corndogs have come all the way back from 5-0 and taken command of this game 7-6. Winner go home stakes, and I'm not sure we can ask for a better duel between these two foes. Regulators and Corndogs saw each other plenty throughout the regular season. Queen City handled business in all of those games. As that pitch is going to go behind the catcher, and the runner is in. St. John able to extend his lead to 2. Eli Duncan couldn't corral that one, and Queen City has now taken a multi-run lead for Cannon Pierce. At the plate after the Mossery single. Mossery on that one also made his way to third, so another one for the Corndogs right in striking distance. Only 1 out, and Pierce is going to line that one into right field. The lefty gets his second hit of the night and second consecutive single to extend this lead to 3. And the Corndogs have completely opened up the floodgates on the Regulators here, with Dylan Lewis and the heart of this order returning to the plate. Lewis, Buthelette, and Budnick, 3 of the most powerful hitters on this Corndog squad that we have seen showcased tonight. Job doesn't get any easier for Sledge here, as the pickoff attempt at first is just a little graceful toss, trying to keep the runner honest. That runner in question is Cannon Pierce, who has 10 stolen bases on the year. Good for 4th on the Corndogs. And Pierce, who got on base with that single, his second of the night. Looking to pick up a possible theft right here, but Dylan Lewis, oh my! Bye-bye baseball, 2-run home run. Dylan Lewis's second of the night, 4th of the season, and the Corndogs are pouring it on the Regulators, 11-6 here at the Friar. That was a no-doubt moonshot for Dylan Lewis, who absolutely bazookaed that one into the forest. Now a 5-run lead for the Corndogs. What a swing, and what a swing in momentum, as Queen City now firmly in control. Lewis, 2 of 2 on the night with 2 home runs and 2 walks, setting the table for Harrison Buthelette, who already has a home run himself, but not going to swing on that one as it nearly hit him in the chest. The Regulators got out to that fiery lead, but the Corndogs, who haven't struck out tonight, get another moonshot out of Harrison Buthelette. Is that going to carry? Yes, it will! Back-to-back home runs for the second time tonight by the same exact duo. Oh my goodness, what a wild sequence of events as Harrison Bouthillette now takes the team lead and gets his second multi-home run game of the season. What an offensive explosion here at the Friar. The grease traps are completely open, and the Regulators getting dog-walked here in the 6th inning, which brings a visit to the mound as Eric Sledge's night appears to be done. So we'll take back over when that pitching change is fully made. Take a bow, Dylan Lewis and Harrison Bouthillette. The duo for the Corndogs has a combined 4 home runs on this game alone, and we're not even done with the 6th. 1 out, and the new pitcher, Jorge Santana, starts off with a high ball 1 against Will Budnick. Budnick is 0 of 3 on the night. And meanwhile, Santana has only pitched 1 inning on the season. Going to need a performance from deep down inside to have a chance at this one now, as Queen City was down 5-6 before the inning started. And now we sit at a 12-6 ball game with another moonshot. Is that going to go? No. So close from Will Budnick, who flies out into right field. The play made by the Regulators, who have been swapping in and out position players on the bump. Fortunate break right there, setting up Nathan Sammy for his 4th at-bat of the night. And also, while we have a moment, we can talk about the Lake Norman game. We last got an update from their Twitter 56 minutes ago that after 4 innings, the Copperheads were on top 4-1 at Statesville. Winner of that Owls-Snakes game will host the winner of this contest tomorrow. And now a 1-0 pitch is going to go just outside of the zone against Nathan Sammy. Sammy has been walked twice tonight, flown out once, has 5 walks over the last game and a half against these Regulators. Has done plenty of work for his on-base percentage without even having to take much swings, but takes a swing right there and fouls it straight back for strike number 1. Santana, we mentioned he pitched the 1 inning on the year, hasn't allowed a run, though it's just 1 inning. Take all these with a grain of salt. Has 1 walk and 1 strikeout. so virtually no statistics to work with. As Sammy lines that one past the glove of Lale and gets a base hit to keep this inning alive. His first knock of the night keeps the good vibes going for the Corndogs. As Wilson Lohr, who led off the inning, returns for his fourth at-bat. Lohr has back-to-back singles after getting hit with the first pitch of the night that he saw. And the lefty returning to form after a little bit of a cold streak, though the rest of the team in themselves have been cold, and hopefully this could be the game that turns them around if they are able to hold on in advance. As Lohr bloops this one up into left field, and it will be tracked down by Josh Lale. So that will end the sixth inning, but the Corndogs, with monster back-to-back home runs, once again put up 7 in the frame to take a 6-run lead heading into the seventh. All right, we got a more recent game update. Not sure what inning we're at right now in the Lake Norman Statesville game, but the number 1 seed in the SCBL at risk of losing back-to-back games to drop out of the entire competition, down 8-3 to the Copperheads. And that's going to be strike number 1 on the first pitch to Caleb Freeman from Connor Bailey, who we barely got to mention in the last frame, was put in with 2 outs and immediately tossed one that was blooped into the glove of Will Budnick. So the first extended work for Bailey starts off with a 1-1 count. The flamethrower from Xavier made his last appearance against Concord on Monday with only 1 hit allowed in that 1 inning. Struck out 2 in the frame as well. And Bailey continued his dominant season, while this one is sky high and called for by Miller St. John at second to put one away here, with number 9, Eli Duncan, returning to the plate. Got to be deflating for these Regulators. Had such a torrid start to this game, and the Corndogs, who had put the ball in play but just not gotten anything out of it in this contest, finally able to connect on theirs and find their spots in the field, or even out of the field a couple of times. More than a couple of times, really. 4 home runs on the night for the Corndogs. And now they take this 12-6 lead into the final 3 frames of this contest. If both scores hold, looks like it would be a matchup with the Lake Norman Copperheads tomorrow. That would take place at Cox Mill High School out there in Concord, which is confusing, I know. Not in Lake Norman. Still, though, would be taking place there in a, once again, do-or-die situation where the winner of that game tomorrow would face the loser of the Concord-Mooresville game and then have to win 1 more. 2 more, actually, against... There's a lot to get into and looking much too far ahead, as that one is fouled off by Eli Duncan on the 2-0 count. Just a testament to the difficulty it is in winning this tournament without being in the winner's bracket for a majority of the tournament. All 4 teams playing right now have one last life on their season, and so far the Corndogs have pulled themselves from out of the grave after down early. And Connor Bailey gets a swinging strike for a 2-2 count on the way. Bailey trying to take the Corndogs home. Has the best ERA out of any eligible player on the Corndogs, boasting a .98 mark, less than a run earned per game. Looking like a guy who plays at a high D1 level in the Big East. And now a full count on Eli Duncan versus Bailey, who has 25 strikeouts on the year, none so far tonight. Facing a full count with 1 down, no on. And the pitch is going to be ruled ball number 4. That's Bailey's 18th walk of the season. Probably the one thing that's nipped him a bit on the year with those walks. Had 7 of them in his first and lone start of the season. Once again, though, returning to a role of a reliever, and compared from his last time he stepped in this game, has a much different situation from trying to keep a lead at 1 to protecting a 6-run lead here at home. Eli Duncan, though, is over on first with 1 down, and Nathan Williams at the plate. And now strike number 1, looking on Williams. Number 51 for the Regulators. Coming off a 1-of-4 performance with an RBI single against Mooresville and 2 strikeouts. That Mooresville game was really one that the Regulators wanted to win, employed a lot of their best pitching talent, and due to obviously not wanting to overlook the arms of your players, that contest ended up falling away from them, and now they were left in this contest, do or die, with a very, very suspect pitching room, largely because none of them are pitchers. Trying to bank on the offense for a potential comeback now. They're down for the first time all game, are the Regulators, and up in the count, though, is Nathan Williams, 2-1 with 1 down. Eli Duncan is still over there on first, only has 2 steals over 12 games, not a huge threat on the base path, and not taking a huge lead right now either. As Bailey likes what he sees, deals this one in and gets a swinging strike out of Williams. That one had some sizzle on it. Now 2-2 with the chance for a potential second out here in the top of the 7th. Connor Bailey has the 5th most strikeouts out of any Corndog. Working a 2-2 count now against Williams, who has 20 strikeouts on the year, but that's going to be a passed ball from Boothlet. The wild pitch allows Eli Duncan to leisurely stroll on over to second and put himself in scoring position. Going to need a lot more of that if you're the Regulators. Down 6 now here in the top of the 7th. And once again, another full count. Bailey walked the last time he was in the full count. That batter was Duncan, who is currently on second. And deals this one in and gets the strikeout this time around. His first of the night. Catches Nathan Williams swinging and puts 2 outs on the board with Eric Sledge returning to the base. Sledge, who gave up a big portion of those Corndogs runs, now back as a hitter and in the outfield, his natural position. With 2 outs and 1 on, and now an 0-1 count on that off-speed pitch that fell off a table into the bottom right corner of the zone. Connor Bailey looks back at second, dishes in the 0-1 ball, and that's going to be the same exact location virtually, just a bit more speed on it. And now 0-2 on Sledge. I mentioned team leader in strikeouts is Sledge. Entered tonight with 24 of them on the year. Now facing an 0-2 mark, hoping to keep this inning alive. But instead, it looks like he is going to strike out. Bailey gets back-to-back Ks and brings us to the bottom of the 7th with the 12-6 lead intact. Bottom of the 7th inning, Corndogs aiming to increase their lead here with Jorge Santana retaking the bump. Was able to finally end that gruesome 6th frame for the Regulators after giving up a heaping helping of runs. It starts things off here with a 1-1 count on Luke Harris, who is 1 of 2 on the game. Has a walk as well. 1 single. And swing and misses on that one. So a much better start to this inning. That being said, not sure there could be worse starts to the inning after last frame. And that one is going to hit Luke Harris, bailing out number 13 and giving him the walk over to first base, which brings up Miller St. John, who is 2 of 3 on the evening. Miller St. John has a double and a single as well as a pop out in this contest. And St. John, continuing his solid play versus the Regulators, was the only player with multiple hits the last time these two teams played. Went 2 of 3 with a double and a single, much like tonight. And now has 4 hits in his last 6 at-bats versus this RBC squad. But that pitch is going to make it 2-0, so no swings needed for the time being, as Santana sails that one near the dome of St. John, who entered tonight batting .240 on the year with 12 hits. Joined midway through the season for the Corndogs and now is out in a 3-0 count. St. John, the 5'10", native of Waxhaw, North Carolina, has been a defensive stopper for this Corndog squad for most of the season, but the bat is finally starting to pick up in the latter half of the SCBL conference slate, which isn't even needed there as St. John gets over to first for his 3rd base of the night. And now Caleb Singleton, who is 0 of 3 on the night, will be replaced by our first pinch hitter for the Corndogs, Adam Quintero. Didn't get to talk about Quintero since he hasn't been in the game, As though it's a passed ball once again that allows Luke Harris to get to third and St. John over to second. But Quintero had a stellar outing against these Regulators about a week ago. Went 1 of 3 with a 2-run home run. Ultimately, that would end up proving to be the difference maker. That and a 2-run double from Dylan Lewis. Accounted for all 4 runs in that contest as, oh my, is that another one? No, it's not. But it's going to be a double at the very least that will bring in 2 more for the Dogs. Make this lead 14-6 now on the 2 RBI double from Adam Quintero. His first at-bat is a major success. And now it's getting towards that danger zone where the Corndogs could potentially walk off this game with 2 more runs. The Corndogs set their season high 4 runs versus the High Point Locos. That was an 18-8 victory in run rule setting, though, on June 17th when these 2 teams played at the Friar. The Regulators lost 17-7. And that's going to be another wild pitch that allows Adam Quintero to take third. And if you look at the history between these 2 teams, it was a 14-1 win in game number 1, 9-2, 11-4, 17-7, and then 4-2. Regulators now on the ropes and looking like they may not get a win in their entire season versus the Corndogs, no matter who you're playing. A very difficult feat that would be, as Dave Mossery, the leadoff man, finds himself in a 2-1 count after the first couple of pitches from Santana. Absolute massive turnaround in this one from Queen City as Mossery lines that one over to third. The ground ball is handled by Lale, and the throw will be there in time to Nathan Williams at first for an out. But the Corndogs inch 1 run closer to ending this thing. Any run would send the Corndogs to the next round of the elimination bracket, where they would face the winner of tonight's other game. That, last time we checked, was 8-3 in favor of Lake Norman over Statesville. Cannon Pierce with 1 out, no on. Watches that ball go high from Santana. Corndogs got a walk-off home run from Nathan Sammy in a game versus the Regulators earlier this year here. And that one's going to be flared into left center field, and it's going to drop. Cannon Pierce, who already has 2 singles on the night, going to try to get to 2. The throw, though, is not there in time, and the tag won't be applied. Cannon Pierce now 2 of 3 of 5 on the night. And that will bring up Dylan Lewis, who has been simply sensational. Lewis has been walked twice and hit a pair of massive home runs. Has driven in a ton of tallies for the Corndogs tonight. And with one more swing of the bat, he could potentially end things here and help the Queen City side survive and advance. So the pitch from Santana is going to be low and inside for ball number 1. Cannon Pierce, who we mentioned, top 5 on the team in steals, has 10 of them, is over on second, as the 1-0 pitch is tossed in and a little bit too inside to make the count 2-0 now for Dylan Lewis. Lewis got a home run at Mooresville that was eventually called back. And oh my! Make it a hat trick! Walk-off 2-run home run, and the Corndogs advance to the next round of the playoffs with a 17-6 thrashing of the Regulators here at the Friar. Dylan Lewis caps off the night with a hat trick, his 3rd home run of the night, his 5th of the season, and a prolific hitting performance from the entire order results in a Gatorade bath for number 42. And the Corndogs dance their way on to tomorrow's elimination game in another playoff matchup. A wonderful season for the Regulators. Pulled off an upset in round 1 of the playoffs, but were unable to get the job done here tonight, ending their season at 4-25. That will do it from here at the Friar. with the Corndogs taking this one 17-6. I'm Jonah Weintraub, and make sure you stay tuned for tomorrow's matchup versus either Statesville or Lake.